Good morning, friends. This is Willie Lee, the Simple Georgian. Make a little video here, kind of give you some kind of idea of what I do to do my prepare my mason jars for my tobacco. When I was doing the cooking classes, everything that I cleaned, I was of course, doing professional cooking classes, you have to sanitize everything. And one of the sanitizers that we used was 1 part of distilled white vinegar and 1 part water. And we used warm water, and I would put it in a spray bottle. And then every time I would use it, I would just stick it in the microwave for a few seconds and warm that back up, because you got a 32-ounce spray bottle and you don't use that much. So what I was doing is I would take that spray bottle, spray my jars, take a paper towel, clean it, and then I'd put my tobacco in it. But having said that, I am changing a little bit of the way that I'm doing this. And what I'm doing is I'm still using the 1 part distilled vinegar, 1 part water. There again, use hot water if you can. It removes the factory oils, the hard water deposits, tobacco odors without leaving a chemical residue. I do not like putting my jars in the dishwasher or washing them in the sink, because you have the chemical residue from the dishwashing liquid. So I don't like using that. The 4-step routine, and I had to do some research to look this up, so if you see me looking off to the side, I'm looking at my notes, is to fill the jar 1/3 to half full with vinegar water mix, seal, shade well, and let stand 10 to 30 minutes to loosen the residue or the odors. Then you wash and scrub the inside and threads with a hot water, and it says a mild fragrance-free soap to remove the leftover vinegar smell. The vinegar smell does not bother me. If you remember, a lot of the tobaccos used to have a vinegary smell anyway, so that does not bother me. Do with it what you will there. Rinse with hot water and then air dry. And then you need to have a moisture controlled environment for your tobacco. Many of you know that most glass mason jars are clear, see-through. So you do not want to have your tobacco out in, say, like sunlight. There's one shop that I go to in Savannah, and I've mentioned it a couple of times, where they have the tobacco sitting right there in the front window. They got them big pane glasses on the storefront, and you could see the moisture inside the jars, and I don't like that. So I typically do not buy tobacco from that store. I have in the past, but I got very little. I got like maybe an ounce or so to try it, and but yeah, typically I don't buy any more tobacco there, with the exception of the stuff that's pre-tinned from the factory. So the place that my local brick and mortar that I go to in Savannah, they have theirs in the jars like you would normally see in a tobacco shop, but they have it up on a darker shelf. The little place that I was talking about where they have it in the windows is more or less a vape shop, so they really don't know how to prep the pipe tobacco per se. But my local brick and mortar that I go to regularly, that's all they do is pipe tobacco cigars. They know how to prep everything to keep everything, legit. So yeah, like I said, that little vape shop that I go to, they've got a nice cigar lounge. It's humidified and all, but the pipe tobacco that they have available, stuff like the 1Q, RPL6, the HLC, and one more, the Very Cherry. They've got like 4 blends, and it's all Lane products, so I can get that anywhere. So I don't never, like I said, I don't never buy anything from that particular store. The only thing I do buy is the tin products, stuff that's already pre-tin or pre-sealed. You want the rubber silicone lids type like you do get on the mason jars. Now, I did find this out recently. I buy 2 different types of jars. And I was getting them all online, getting the same kind, but it was getting to where it was aggravating to get the sizes I needed. So I started going to the local Walmarts and buying the ball jars, and then they've got one set that's got the gold lids. It's in a just cardboard box, which both of them's in the little cardboard box, but the jars with the gold lids are $1 or $2 cheaper than the ball jars. And what I found out recently was the ones with the gold lids sometimes don't seal as well as the ball jars. So take that as you will. Now, having said that, it is recommended that you go through your cellar on a regular basis and tighten your lids, check the seals, stuff like that. So if you reuse a rubber silicone lid, you can clean it with baking soda paste or just swap out to a whole new lid. A lot of us, or a lot of the people in the community, they put their seller labels on their lids. So I'm going to say recommend just swapping out for a new lid, because I mean, those lids, you can get them by the box full. They're like super cheap, because your trim ring or your rings is not part of the lid. It's a 2-piece. So yeah. They said that you can skip boiling the lids like you do for canning, but you can wipe the tops with a high proof alcohol like Everclear for the extra mold prevention. So you take Everclear, dampen the cloth, and just wipe your lids. So there you go. For new jars, now this is reused jars, what I just told you. For new jars specifically, you got to remove the factory oil and ensure total dryness. So I know several people has posted they just take the jars and just throw the tobacco in there. But these jars, when they're made, they've got chemical residue still on them from the manufacturing process. And then there are different strategies to use that you can. You got to keep your tobacco separate. That way you're not getting the flavors mixing of your English, your Virginias, your Burleys, your aromatics. So you want to, make sure you keep in separate jars for separate blends. Is what's recommended. Now I just put mine in the jar and let it go, because a lot of you know that I don't smoke through a jar. I mean, it takes me forever to go through my tobacco because I've got so much, but it's that. You want to wash the jars, and they're saying, the research that I've come up with said to use an unscented dish soap, a splash of vinegar, and your warm water. Your vinegar is acidic and it sanitizes your jars. That's why everybody's saying to use the vinegar. You don't boil the lids, so you hand wash them, and then there again, you use a cloth or a towel dampened in the high proof alcohol, Everclear. And then it gives you the research I found gave you also, let me get back in my photos here because I screenshotted a lot of this, and I'm trying to make this short and sweet and to the point, if you understand what I'm saying. On the labels, always include the brand and blend name, the date the product was stored. So let's say you might have a tin of Virginia, and you open that tin and then you put it in a jar. They're recommending to use the date that you actually jar it, because once you open that process in that tin has already been exposed to oxygen. So now you start in the process of aging again. So you want the date that you actually jar it to start the process. Now this varies according to different people. You want to arrange your jars to where you can see the sides or whatnot. And they're recommending to separate by the batch and source. They're also recommending to, and this is where I'm starting to get to work on stuff, use a color code on your labels of some type to where you know what you got, whether it's they're suggesting use an orange or red color code for aromatic blends, brown or black for a heavy English or Balkan, and then I'm trying to go through my notes as I'm doing this. Sorry about the little bit of a delay. And then use a yellow or green for your Virginias or Pre. Now you can go further and separate it on out even more than that. That's what I'm working on myself. I'm trying to separate my blends, by Virginia Pre, by Virginia Burley, by Virginia, straight Virginia, by Burley, by Orientals, by English, Balkans, aromatics. So, and then in my case, I just use little labels that I can write on with a pen, because I write like super small anyway. But if you want to use the labels, as a lot of people do, you can go to Cellar Labels, and for your standard lids, you want 2.52 inches for your circular graphics and 3 inches for the wide mouth. They're saying that you can use a pre-made okay, they're saying you can use a pre-made label. You can also print them out on regular paper, cut them out and attach them to the lid using just regular Elmer's wood glue or school glue, like we used to use in preschool or elementary school. It washes off, so that way you can change the labels and not have the labels stuck. So you got regular, I'm saying cardstock, but regular printing paper, and with your labels on it, and then your school glue. So it's the same stuff that we had in school. Real easy to work with. Or you can take a heat gun, and I've seen a couple of videos where people's done this. The ones that comes to mind right off the bat is Flat Cap Piper and Ladyfire. They used a heat gun, pulled the labels off of the tins, and then stuck them on their jars. So there you go. We're going about 15 and a half minutes, so I'm gonna get off and let y'all get back to doing what y'all was doing. We trying to finish out the week up here on my paid vacation, if you will, and I'm going to work on getting send these winners of the gall. I'm going to work on getting them sent out tomorrow. We've had the truck tied up for the yesterday and today, and I'll have access to it tomorrow, so I'll try to get this stuff shipped out to y'all tomorrow, the Lord willing, and go from there. Appreciate you watching. Thanks for subscribing, and we hope y'all have a great week. Bye now.